It's Ravens week. You guys know it's Ravens week. And you know when it's Ravens week, who I have to bring in. Y'all know who it is. INGRAVENVIDS back here with another collab. How you doing,
Ooh,
man?
I'm good. I'm good. How you doing?
You know, I think I can speak for the whole AFC North where I say this. Have no idea how we doing. I have no idea
That's
how
true.
it is anybody is doing in the North. It's been that kind of a year.
Mhm.
And quietly, so even though the record doesn't reflect it, because what 7-2, you would assume is it 7-2 or is it
Seven
seven
and
and three?
three.
7-3 now,
Mm-hmm.
right? You would assume it would be a lot smoother than it's been, but the Ravens have kind of made a habit of clawing out these close games,
Mm-hmm.
sneaking these games out. I mean, they're the kind of the cardiac birds at this point.
Oh yeah.
What's been the difference from this Ravens team to the one we saw probably like in that tail end of 2019 and then in 2019 and then the tail end of 2020 where they really rallied it together? Why has it been sloppy? And do you think this is something similar to like those seasons where they could turn it on in this last stretch and be the dominant Ravens team people expected them to be?
I would say injuries definitely play a big part, but I feel like with coaching, a lot of times when you see different things that they do throughout the games, sometimes it feels like the coaching they play a lot of these backup players like they are the starters, like they are the guys that we lost to injury, and it's not the same quality of player at these different positions. So I think that's been a huge reason why the Ravens are just it's not that yeah, like you said, the end of 2019, the end of 2020. Hopefully, hey, the end of 2021, it goes the same as those years went too. The Ravens get hot. But this year, it's like we just the blowouts and all that. Yeah, that seems to be a thing of the past. We back to sort of normal Ravens football, what we had been used to for so long before that 2019 season. That's why that season it feels like it was a dream. It didn't even feel real because it was just like, man, we blowing out team after team after team after team after team. But now we are back down to reality.
Definitely. So Lamar has had, I don't want to say issues staying on the field or anything because he has only missed like the one game, but he
Mm-hmm.
missed last week's game. He has said that he should be back for this week's game, but he hasn't returned to practice yet. Is there a concern there, a growing concern that this could be something, especially in this stretch where you go Browns, Steelers, Browns, like three huge division games in 3 weeks? Is this going to be something that could keep him out or affect his play? And if that's the case, how confident are they going into a division run
Mm-hmm.
against some good teams with Tyler Huntley?
Yeah, we definitely tough schedule, and not even just these next three games, which is Browns, Steelers, Browns, but just the remainder of the season because it's Browns, Steelers, Browns. We got Packers in there, we got Bengals again who already whooped us, and then we had Rams too. So there's no gimme games. So with that being said, Lamar Jackson he did finally return to practice today, which was a beautiful thing. No Hollywood. He also missed the last game against the Bears. He came back to practice too. Brandon Williams, our defensive tackle, he missed the last game against the Bears. He came back to practice too. But whenever somebody misses practice, especially when it's your starting quarterback, that's reps. You're losing reps. You're losing time with the team. So that can only do bad for the team. So with him being out there now, as of today, and him obviously expected to practice moving forward this week, then that can only be a good thing. And with these being division games, like Chuck Clark, he said it best in the presser that they had today. He said these Browns are going to be tough, but this is what you fight for. You fight to try to win the division. So they know the Browns are going to bring it, the Ravens are going to bring it, and it's going to be a battle, and it's going to be cold too. It's a Sunday night football game.
At
So
the bank.
every tackle, every hit, you feel it that much more since it's going to be so cold. So yes, it's going to be a good one. I'm prepared to be stressed out.
It's you spoke of it being a physical game. It's definitely going to be tough. Brandon Williams is an underrated return for you guys, especially this week, because he's so important to that run defense that you guys have there.
Mhm.
And with the Browns, the Browns are a team known for the run game. That's pretty much
Yeah.
the only thing that's been working on offense for the Browns this year. And now we're getting a huge piece of that puzzle back, Kareem Hunt. And you already got Nick Chubb back last week. It looks like you have a chance to get Jack Conklin back as well this week if you're the Cleveland Browns. So knowing that the Browns run game could potentially be back at full strength for the first time in a long time, does that affect how the Ravens are going to try to game plan on the defensive end of the game?
It has to, because man, that it's scary to think about it. Because this Ravens defense this year has not. I mean, their run defense has been good, but I don't think they've had a challenge or a task like Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and Dearness Johnson too, because we know he held it down for the most part when the other fellas were out. So the Browns, I believe y'all are number one in rushing attack this year. So it makes the job that much tougher. It makes the Browns that much tougher, and the Ravens have to do what they set out to do every single game, and it's been their MO for the longest. First priority, stop the run. That's what you got to do first, because if you can stop the run, then you can force the Browns to have to be a passing team. And that's what you really want to do for all teams. You want to stop their run so they can't mix it up on you. So you can sort of dictate the game. Now, you hope that if you stop the run, you can stop the pass too. But that's been where the Ravens have struggled the most this year, is stopping the pass. So it's just going to be important for that defense to get off to a strong start, but for the offense to get off to a strong start too. Because if in a lot of games this year, what the Ravens offense has been doing, they've been getting off to these slow starts where they just do not score. They leave points on the field early off and often in games. And trust me, I love the comeback victories. I appreciate them because a win is a win. But the Ravens, a lot of times they wouldn't be in a lot of these comeback situations if they would start off fast. So what I really want to see in this game from the offense is just more of a sense of urgency.
Definitely. Now let's switch gears and talk about the Ravens offense, as you kind of touched on it there. Now, I don't know if you know this, but Browns fans are very familiar with your left tackle, Andrew Villanueva. He's a different dude than Ronnie Stanley, where Ronnie has a long history of holding up pretty well against Myles Garrett. Andy, Big Andy on that left side,
yes.
he has a mixtape of what he has let Myles Garrett do to him on that side. Now, I will give the Ravens credit here. They're probably one of the most, I would say probably outside like the Patriots. They're one of the most proactive teams about, we just going to nip this thing in the bud with Myles Garrett. We're going to put 4 people over there. We're going to run on the opposite side. We are going to not let Myles Garrett take advantage of this game. That was when y'all had Ronnie Stanley out there. And Alejandro Villanueva, I mean, even in his prime, he had issues with Myles Garrett. So knowing that matchup could be an issue for him, and knowing that, this is somebody that Myles has had success with, a lot of success. I mean, he tied the game against Pittsburgh one time against him by himself on the defensive side of the ball with like 3 strip sacks in a row. So knowing that's the case, what do you think Jim Harbaugh, this offensive staff and the offensive line coaches do to kind of, I mean, Myles Garrett himself is a problem when you know that when your left tackle has a noted issue against Myles Garrett because of the lack of bend there. Well, what do you do there, right? Because it's one thing when you're trying to scheme up these solutions and you got Ronnie Stanley, an A+ athlete at left tackle, but this is a whole different beast here.
You pray. You pray, because Alejandro Villanueva, oh my goodness, it's been rough this year. It has been really rough this year. And I know when we first signed him, so many Steelers fans, they were like, oh man, this guy, he's terrible. He's not good. All you Ravens fans getting a leftover and da-da-da. I was like, hold on now, wait a minute. Let's see. Maybe he just needs a different atmosphere. Maybe going from a super passing team to a super run heavy team, that can change a lot for an offensive lineman. Because we see Orlando Brown Jr., who went from a super run heavy team with the Ravens to a super pass heavy team with the Chiefs, and he hasn't looked as good. But with Villanueva, I was like, okay, this change could be good for him, but it has been rough. Our entire offensive line, though, they have been rough. So that's a matchup that worries me like crazy. And then you still got Jadeveon Clowney on the other side too. Like, And you know Browns are going to bring it. Browns, I'm sure they've been watching film and whatnot. They watched, even though it wasn't Lamar Jackson, it was still the offensive line. They watched the film against the Bears. I'm sure they watched the Dolphins game. Like that game has just made a lot of Dolphins players famous and made Ravens offensive coordinator a little more famous than he already was, but not in a good way. But I'm sure they are going to bring it because the Ravens offensive line just this year, they've shown that they can't take it. A big boost, a big help for Alejandro Villanueva against Myles Garrett this week will be Nick Boyle, our tight end. He just came back. He was just recently activated off of injury reserve after tearing his hamstring, his meniscus, his MCL, his PCL. He had 2 surgeries on it this offseason, but now he's finally back. And Nick Boyle is like an extra offensive lineman. And I'm sure they will have him lined up on Myles Garrett's side to help out because we know how disruptive Myles Garrett can be. We know just how stressful he makes games. We know just how annoying he is. He's a great player, but as a Ravens fan, he's annoying because he does so much. And he makes a big impact on the game. I think I don't know what the stats are as of this past week, but I believe like 2 weeks ago he was like leading in sacks, pressures, and QB hits. I think something crazy like that.
Yeah,
but
like 13 sacks already.
It doesn't make any sense. Like that's Madden stuff, and he's doing it in real life. But with Myles Garrett, they're going to have to help. This is the offensive line, again, that has been a struggle all year long. But this is going to have to be a coming out party for them where they show like, hey, we can get this thing done and we could really hold it down. Because with Cleveland's defensive line, this is going to be trouble.
So one of the things that comes with national TV games, I think Raven fans, especially this year with all the national TV games you have played, have learned this. I think Browns fans are learning this. The thing with national TV games is how you play in them. That sticks with how everybody will talk about you for the rest of the year. You can go 14-2, but you lose 2 times on national TV. People are going to think you're frauds, right? Because that's when the whole country gets to see, right? I used to joke, there's nothing worse for a young quarterback than to go out there and have a bad game on national TV because they'll never let it go. Cam Newton had a bad game on national TV in his rookie year after putting up monster numbers. People ain't let that go for like 3 years till he won the MVP. Lamar Jackson had a couple of bad games on national TV. And we still ain't at the point where people just act like Lamar is a former MVP, right? Like people still kind of like, oh, well, you can figure him out or you can solve him. It's not, you can't solve what Lamar got because he has that extra stuff in there. But knowing that kind of pressure on national TV, M&T Bank Stadium, I mean, this is, I would think for the Ravens, an opportunity for them to make an impression that they're one of the dominant teams. They're back in that class with the Kansas City Chiefs as a true contender in the AFC because they just haven't been talked about like a true contender in the AFC. People have been kind of iffy on them. So for them, this is a big point here. For Baker, this is a massive game for him, right? Because he has had a rough go as far as perception is gone. And it's not, it's not because it ain't his fault, right? Like he has put a lot of this on himself because of the bad play. And for him, a good game on national TV and actually like a win here would do miles for him. And then obviously for this Browns team, as far as being taken seriously, you beat the Ravens on national TV on the road, people are going to have to take you seriously, and the perception of you is going to change here. So knowing that those stakes are there, knowing where the Ravens sit, who has more to lose on Sunday?
Oh, that is a tough one because like you mentioned, Baker Mayfield, a lot of pressure on him. The way that the media is looking at him right now, I've been seeing a lot of people say with Baker Mayfield, hey, either put up or shut up when it comes to the whole injury. Because I've seen a lot of people saying, hey, with this injury, if you're going to play through the injury, then don't even talk about it. And with the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, that's a really good point that you mentioned about just the pressure that follows and just the narratives that continue if you do lose on national TV, because that's when the world gets to see you. There's no other games on. They just turn on ESPN or NBC or whatever the channel may be, and they only watching you. So this is a lot of time when a lot of media gets to watch you in full, and this is a lot of time when a lot of fans, they get to watch you in full. This is their opportunity. So with more to lose, wow, that is a really, really tough one. More to lose right here. I would say the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, because I feel like with the Browns, because I think it's going to be a crazy close game. I think it's going to be a 2-point game. Like the winner is going to win by 2 points. I do not think it's going to be a blowout, a lopsided, anything like that. But with this game, with Baker Mayfield, I feel like with the Browns, I feel like the expectations for them going into this game are a tiny bit, a bit lower, especially with the injury, with how he's been this season with the sort of sporadic play and whatnot. Now with the Ravens and Lamar, if they were to lose, then I feel like depending on how they lost, I feel like there could be some change, because there's been a lot of talk about the coaching staff. Not with Harbaugh. Harbaugh, he's not going anywhere. But depending on how they lost, and depending on like what if the defensive coordinator put guys in position to succeed, because that's something that he's been struggling with this year. And the offensive coordinator too. Now, even with all the injuries and whatnot, there's been a lot of rough patches as well. But I feel like, I feel like it would be it's more to lose for the Ravens than the Browns, I would say.
It's gonna be an interesting 3 weeks for this division.
Yeah.
Any single team where there are different alignments, like a Rubik's Cube, right? But any team in this division could be in first place by themselves by the end of these 3 weeks if certain things line up for them, right? That's how crazy this division is. The Browns could go from we got to bench and fire everybody to first place by ourselves in a home playoff game in the middle of December. So it's gonna be interesting 3 weeks here. It's gonna be a season-making 3 weeks here. Want to thank Engraven for coming on. You guys know where to find him, youtube.com/EngravenVids. Go ahead, check it out there. Make sure y'all keep it clean in his comment section if you head on out there. But Engraven, want to thank you for being on here. Appreciate you, man.
Nah, you already know. I appreciate you having me on, man. This is fun as it always is. And the game should be even more fun.
Hopefully. And make sure you subscribe to both of us. Make sure you check out, because you're doing a live stream watch party for this, right? Yeah, so we both gonna be in here watching the game live. Yeah. So either way, right? If this goes crazy one way or the other, if it's that crazy thriller Monday Night Football game again, you get to check us both out, both reactions. I'm waiting for somebody to make the super cut, right? You know what I mean? If this gets wild enough. But again, check us out. Subscribe to both of us if you're new here or if you're new to Engraven. The content is great. But again, thank you for coming on, man.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate it.